Hey, I'm Megan, this is Psychedelic Actualization. On this channel we talk about topics like self-realization, self-actualization and working with psychedelics to live a more authentic and fulfilling life. Welcome to the second video of my Ayahuasca series, where I report back my experience of attending a 14-day Ayahuasca retreat. If you haven't watched the first video yet, you can watch it right here, click right here right now, to learn about why I went to this retreat, my intentions for my experiences, and just how it came about. So, the first night, I will just look a little bit at my notes, because it was a year ago and I slightly remember the details, just like very vaguely, so I just wrote everything down because I noted everything down after my experiences. First night, it was a so-called introductory dose. We had a great yoga session before our experiences. We had a one-on-one conversation with the facilitators and the shamans, just sharing our intentions. So that was kind of nice. And yeah, they just said they wanted to take it slow, so we just got an introductory dose, just like a tiny little bit of ayahuasca. Well, definitely not for me, as you will find out in this video. That experience was intense as... right? So, the shaman sang to the medicine and we all drank our brews. I was just sitting up, meditating, letting the medicine go in, just holding it, and like thinking that it's gonna be a very soft experience, that it's gonna be a chill and easy night for me. Because it's just an introductory dose, right? But well, you never know, because those effects were hitting me really fast and really hard. And it is difficult to remember all the details of this experience because it was so chaotic and so much happened, you know? And it's so beyond words, it's so beyond our human language and our human concepts. So I was starting to feel that I was floating through this infinite space. It was not like infinity itself, but it was a little glimpse of infinity. Infinity is really deep, you know? You can glimpse a little bit of infinity, even though that's kind of a paradox in our language, or you can go deeper into infinity itself. So I just got a glimpse into infinity and I was thrown into this infinite space. And in the room there was just darkness, silent darkness. The shamans were not starting to sing. It was just a very calm space. And I started to hear those vibrations. This like those vibrations. If you can focus, sometimes I hear them like even without the psychedelics. This like universal vibration, is it kind of? But sometimes on psychedelics it's intensified, and that happened in this experience as well. And I was hearing some other sounds like a generator or some sounds from a little bit further away, and those were kind of distracting me. So I was trying to remember to let go of all judgments, to just embrace everything, to embrace the experience and be open to it. And it got more and more intense. And I got to a point where I lost many concepts of our humanness, you know. So for example, I lost the concept of time because it wasn't competing with this glimpse of infinity anymore. And I just felt a deep gratitude, first of all, that the medicine was working. Because in the past I've had experiences, you can watch them right here, where I drank the medicine and it wasn't doing much in that night. It was properly working, but I wasn't having any effects from the ayahuasca. So first of all, I was feeling really grateful that I had an experience at all, that I was feeling something and that I was feeling something very intense actually. So I was just like, thank you for being here, medicine. Thank you for being here, ayahuasca. I welcome you in. And yeah, I was just like observing how I was kind of pulling out or being pulled out of my head. So I was kind of distant from my thoughts. And there was a separation between my sense of self and awareness and my thought process. So that was kind of a very interesting experience. The thoughts that I had were just like positive affirmations. I'm open to the experience. I want to experience infinity. I want to go deeper into that glimpse of infinity. And I tried to kind of give up my humanness, because the concept of humanness, it started to lose its meaning. So I was trying to let go of my humanness. And I barely, like, I remember a point in this experience where I barely remembered my name, and I was like, well, wait, do I need my name? Well, no, I can let go of my name. I can let go of my character too. And I was trying to deliberately free myself from myself. So that was kind of interesting, and we will get to this point in the next video of this series, or in the next 2 videos of this series, of like the concept of freeing ourselves from ourselves, because I was desiring to go deeper into infinity. But what that meant was, and that was my experience, what that meant was that I had to let go of myself, of my character, and even of my sense of self and my sense of humanness. Like liberation. But I couldn't fully do it in this experience. So I was still thinking and kind of attached to thoughts in this infinite space that I was floating around in. And I was asking myself, like, do I need my thoughts? No, I don't need my thoughts. I don't need them. And there was moments in this ceremony, in that experience, where I was just focusing on the breath, breathing, and took a deep breath in and a deep breath out. And then there was just like this peaceful presence. And after, thoughts were coming again and again and again. And it was like this loop, this infinite loop of surrendering to this presence and to the experience, and then thoughts coming again. And I was aware of that loop. And I was thinking, like, here are the thoughts again, right? I was thinking, like, I want truth. I want infinity. I desire truth and nothing else. Show me truth. I was like, those were the thoughts that I was thinking. And I was talking to the medicine and talking to myself, but actually those thoughts were the things that were preventing me from realizing that truth in that moment. And it felt just very intense, and I was kind of out of my body, but not in the absolute, in a sense. I was in this infinite space, but not fully in infinity. So, and then just like many things happened in that journey. Many things came up, and just like all kinds of stuff was thrown at me. So I was thinking about my best friend, I was thinking about my family and human stuff, even though I was kind of distant from my humanness. And I felt like connection and gratitude for all of them. I felt gratitude for being a human. And I had like very interesting like images and memories from my childhood popped up in my head and in my imagination that I haven't thought about for a long time. And that I haven't even remembered for a very long time, like of the time I was in school when I was really young. And with it came a kind of understanding for that little child that I was, for that innocent boy with all its troubles and problems, and a kind of appreciation for being here on Earth and being able to learn all those lessons. So I just tried to let go of those images, but more and more images entered into my consciousness, and I vaguely remember all the images because they were also not really visual, but they were present. I could perceive them, not in a very specific visual way, but also kind of in a visual way. So it was very weird. It was not like a real proper visual, like this perception right here that we have in this room, that you have watching this video right now, but it was more like a vague imagination, but still like something that I perceived. So very interesting. And other vague imaginations entered. So there was, for example, the image of a snake, like feeling that the ayahuasca had like this snake-like presence. And I felt that before in my second ayahuasca retreat. And it was really interesting because I felt the urge to purge, but it didn't really want it to come out. And that was going on for quite a while. And I felt like this ayahuasca like moving like a snake in my body and collecting all that kind of stuff from here and from there, and then just like it had like this snake-like character. I don't know how to describe it, but many people describe it in that way, right? I mean, here it's a snake on this ayahuasca shirt. And it was working on me, like, but holding the vomiting back, kind of teasing it, playing with me, but not letting it out for now. And you can't really decide when it wants to come, it wants to come, and if it's not finished collecting yet, it's not finished collecting yet. So you just want to surrender to that experience. But it was kind of teasing that to me. So I also had a picture of a jaguar and a toucan, which was just very short entering my perception. And I don't know about like spirit animals or stuff, like what that means if you perceive those animals. And I don't know if it was just because I saw a little ayahuasca painting with a jaguar and a toucan a day before, or just like at the retreat center, and that was because it was in my consciousness, or like whatever. I don't really understand. I don't really felt a connection to those, even though those two are really nice animals. But those were entering my consciousness and left again. I had a sense that, like, because it was all coming from my imagination, that all of reality is imagination. So I was sensing that inside. But I didn't really feel I was in control of that imagination, even though it was my imagination. So that was kind of interesting to observe, that reality is imagination, reality is my imagination, but I'm not fully in control of that imagination. Maybe because I'm not properly trained yet, or maybe because that imagination is just the way it is, and we can't do anything about it other than accepting it. So yeah, I felt like I was in a kind of a spaceship, like this kind of rocket spaceship floating through infinite space. I was like, okay, like I'm ready for takeoff. I'm ready. And then I took off into the space, and I tried to go deeper and deeper into it, but I couldn't fully let go into the deepest points of that space. And into that, like I was desiring that state of bliss or silence, but I couldn't fully reach it. I couldn't fully reach that infinity. And as I said, it was just like because I was in that circle of images and imaginations and thinking. It's like trying to let go of my thoughts and everything, but not being able to. And like I kind of wanted to die. That was my intention. That is also the intention that I mentioned in the first video. It's like to experience infinity, to get the answers of what is infinity, what is love, what is God, what is this reality. Answering those questions implies a death of myself. And that is a very deep experience. And in that first night, it didn't want to take me to that place. But I was trying to get to this place. I was desiring to get to this place. And I was just like letting go over and over again. And yeah, just like a flow of information just kept entering me. And at one point I was pushing my hands. I was doing weird stuff. So I was pushing my hands onto my eyes to see more. Because those vague images were just too vague. So I was figuring out like if I could go deeper into darkness, maybe I would see more. But that wasn't the case as well. I could not enough to see like a vision or something. But one image I remember from that experience of like pushing my hands into my eyes is an image of perceiving the earth from outer space. I've heard people talk about that experience, but this was the first time I experienced it for myself. Kind of vaguely still, but very nice view. Like from outer space looking down on Earth. That was one image that popped into my consciousness while I was pushing my hands onto my eyes. And the more intense it got, the more I felt the urge to purge. And also the more uncomfortable I felt. Because I was kind of floating in space, but this urge to purge, this urge to vomit, it kind of pulls you down into this body. It pulled me down into this reality, into this body, and feeling like the uncomfortable feeling of this urge to let it out. And also very interesting is in many of my other ayahuasca experiences, I drank, then I was holding it in, and then I purged, and after the purge the experience unfolded. But this time it was like I had the intense experience before I was purging. So, and it's still a mystery to this day for me, like when does one purge? It's a total mystery. We'll talk about that in another video. But it's a total mystery because it's different for everybody and it's different for every experience. And I was like at a point where I was like, just like, okay, come on. Like I am ready to purge. Come on, right now I'm ready to go into it. But I didn't want it to. And I didn't like had my rapé. Sometimes I use rapé, this shamanic snuff, to get like the purge done, and some shamans do it as well. The Huni Queen tribe did it as well, but those shamans were not working with rapé, and I didn't want it to go to my room to get it, so I was just like, okay, just like go with the natural flow of the experience and just see, like wait it out. When it wants to come, it wants to come. So I was just like waiting, still like wanting to go further into this infinite space, repeating, I want truth, I want infinity, I want peace. And yeah, as I said, those thoughts were preventing me from getting there. And then a period started of crazy yawning. So like those deep yawns, maybe you know them from some psychedelic experiences of yours. And when I was yawning, I was hearing those vibrations that I mentioned earlier way more intensely and clearly. So I was just like going from covering my eyes to just pushing my hands onto my ears just to like silence out, even though it was kind of silent in the room, but like still in the Amazon there's a lot of sounds. I was just like trying to push into my ears to just go into those vibrations that I was hearing more and more. So I tried that, and that was very interesting because now I wanted to focus on those vibrations. So I closed my ears And I listened to those vibrations of, like, again, this and it was very interesting because yeah, what are those vibrations? Because you hear them when you're sober as well sometimes, and it's like this, it's a vibration of life. And the ayahuasca, it made me like more sensitive to everything. So when I was closing my ears, I was just like, maybe it was part of my heartbeat, part of my hands touching my ears. It's like this whole sensory experience is way more intensified, and that maybe creates those vibrations. And yeah, very interesting, like, to contemplate, like, what is this vibration, what is it about, where does it come from, what is it exactly? Is it the vibration of the universe, the vibration of higher consciousness, of a consciousness in an altered state of being? Very interesting. So just play around with that maybe next time you have your experience. It's very interesting to listen to that. And then it was time to purge.
And what happened was that I barely couldn't hold myself in this reality and in my body. I couldn't even like really sit up. Well, sitting up was really difficult. And, like, navigating in this physical reality was almost impossible. So I managed to get up, take my bucket, take a little bit of toilet paper, and walk to the toilet. And it was difficult. And I was like seeing there was somebody on the toilet, and then it came really fast. Like, okay, it's time to purge now. And then I was like sitting before the toilet. Is there something? It's somebody. Yeah, I'm here. Just wait a minute. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna wait a minute. And so I just couldn't stand up anymore. I broke down on my knees. I was like almost crying. I was standing before my bucket. It's like, oh, it was horrible. It's like, okay, please be graceful with me. Psychedelic. It's like, I'm not gonna purge now. I'm gonna wait till I'm beyond the toilet, because when I purge and this huge purge comes, I'm gonna definitely shit. So I waited it out. He went out. I managed to get on the toilet. It's like, and it came directly. I shitted in the toilet, not myself, but I peed on myself a little bit. It was so weird. I was so navigating. So what the fuck? And then at the same time the purge came, and I shitted and purged at the same time. I was sitting there still like tripping out of this reality. It was so intense, so little body control and navigation that it was just, whoa, I was just surprised by how intense it was. So I did that for a while. I just sat there for a little bit, tripping out. I was thinking of what I've got myself into. Because, like, the whole time it was also like the teaser of, like, oh, you're gonna have eight ceremonies in total, 7 left. It's like, it's gonna be transformative. It's gonna be interesting for you. You have to be courageous to go through it, know what you're getting yourself into. It's like this humbling experience.
Okay, and just to finish up, like, after that I was finished with the world, finished with my life, because it was so intense. It was such an intense experience, but it was neither blissful nor insightful, really, but just very, very intense. Still, like, I was trying to be grateful for that experience, being grateful for that it has worked, that I was experiencing something, like, trying to be open to this presence. And I don't know, but it was an emotionally difficult and exhausting experience overall this first night. Like, I was just like, after that, I was laying there in the fetal position, like trying to just get through and just praying to the ayahuasca, to God, to myself. And I felt emotionally just drained, you know? I felt alone. Like after the purging. I mean, all this experience, it was okay, but it was intense. And after I felt alone, I felt like a little child wanting to be held by a mother. But there was nobody there to hold me. But myself, just like nobody there but myself to hold me. And it felt overwhelmingly lonely and very sad. Very interesting. Very interesting also now to reflect back upon that. And I was just repeating, truth is what I want. Still repeating it to myself. And if this is the truth, this experience that I'm experiencing right now, then I will take it. Because my desire for truth is my highest priority. And yeah, throughout the ceremony there was a lot of silence. Some icaros, the icaros from the shamans were beautiful, like when they were singing. Some nights they were singing more, some they were singing less. We will come to that in the next couple of videos, stay tuned. And it faded slowly, like the whole effects of the experience. It left me exhausted, overwhelmed, and just very tired. It was a very intense but very interesting experience, because it was an experience that took me far out of time, out of the concept of physical reality, out of the concept of humanness, and into the reality of imagination, of consciousness, and of infinity. Just like a little bit, like a tiny glimpse. And that was very interesting, even though it was very draining and intense, the experience. Still, it was not blissful. It shook me, kind of. It was like, whoa, what was that? That was the introductory dose. Like, how? How did that come about? It was like drinking a tiny little bit. And it left me like a little bit scared and terrified and just very cautious and respectful towards the next ceremonies, because I had 7 nights to go and I was just like, what did I get myself into right here? And this question, it popped into my head in the next couple of ceremonies as well, and in the next couple of days. You will definitely see that in the next couple of videos. Over and over again I was asking myself, like, what did I get myself into? But I wanted to go deeper. I still had the full-on desire to go deeper into this space. I felt ready to fully let go, to die with a higher dose a little bit, and to just let it happen. And we'll come to that as well in the next couple of videos. I thought that I was ready. But if I was ready for that experience, I am not sure anymore. It can take you to very deep places. But at that point, after the first experience, I felt ready. I felt the desire to go deeper, to experience this space a little bit deeper. And just to let the medicine do its work, to heal, to purge, to let it do what it wants to do in my body and in my consciousness. And just like trusting it. And if it wants to take me through all those spaces and all those states that I just described and all those images and imaginations, then it's okay. It's okay. It's gonna be fine. If it wants to take me through that, I am gonna go through that. And the next morning even, I was still like waking up after a little bit of sleeping. I was still dizzy, feeling kind of drunk, feeling kind of high and wavy. Doing the yoga, doing the meditation, taking a shower, sleeping a little bit more, contemplating a little bit more, trying to ground myself. So that was the experience. Like my ego was still trying to comprehend a day later, and think about and understand this experience that I just had, but like just not being able to. And there was a kind of, because my ego mind and the thoughts are not fully able to comprehend and integrate this experience, there was a kind of resistance to integrate this experience, which was very interesting. But the ultimate conclusion is just to let it be and to go deeper into this process of this journey. So definitely stay tuned for that. That was my first experience, the first night, a crazy start to a crazy week. And as you will hear in the next couple of videos, the next couple of experiences were kind of way weaker and not as intense as this first introductory dose, even though I was drinking way more. So definitely stay tuned for that. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet to be notified when I publish the next video of this video series. If you are interested in working with the medicine and like want to know a little bit about preparation, about the diet, then subscribe and download the worksheet that I put together. It's the first link in the description down below. It's completely for free. I just wanted to share that with the world because there's a lot of different information out there, and that is my kind of collection of all that information in one worksheet. So download that if you want to, and stay tuned for the next experience. I love you all. I'm excited to share the next couple of ceremonies. That was a very intense one, a very crazy one, but it will get way, way, way more than that. Thank you very much. I'll see you in the next one.